let's learn some CGI.
All right, welcome back everyone. It's been a long time since I made a tutorial, so I figured out that I have a little bit more time on my hands, so I think I'm gonna continue creating these tutorials and teaching you guys how to become a CGI artist, and hopefully one day you're gonna become a senior. All right, so I'm gonna start very simple. We're gonna start using Corona instead of Viri because I think it's a very good render engine as well. So we're gonna start simple. We're gonna start from how to setting up your 3ds Max. So we're gonna be using Max 21, and I'm gonna be showing you how should you set up your 3ds Max in a very fast way. I'm not gonna be explaining too many things, so I'm just gonna show you how I set up my Max for working in archviz, and I've been doing this for over 15 years right now, so I think it just works. You don't really need to do or install anything for now. I'm just gonna be showing you plugins later on while we are learning things, but for now, if you install a default Max, you will have to set it up like this. So open your 3ds Max. So whenever you're gonna install, you're gonna see the interface. Don't worry about the left bar. This is Corona toolbar. And on the left side, you have the snapping tools, right? So the first thing you want to do is customize unit setup, right? So my recommendation is to set up this display unit scale as centimeters and system unit scale as centimeters as well, especially if you're working with internals, right? With externals, it also works as well, pretty well. If you're working on massive side plans, cities, I would recommend maybe meters because of the viewport clipping, right? So let's just leave it at centimeters and centimeters, press OK. The next step you want to do is you go to preferences. So the scene undos, I would suggest keeping from 100 to 200 because sometimes you do so many clicks, so many edits, 20 or 25 or 50 undos are not going to cut it. You're not going to go back where you want to. So 100, 200, more than enough. All right. So this is pretty much simple. Everything else by default. I didn't change anything else. Files. You go to files and auto backup. I would recommend keeping auto backup. If you're working on a very small scale projects, I would leave it maybe every 15 minutes it would save an auto back, right? So for example, I'm going to change it every 15 minutes. If you're working on a very big project and it takes a while to save, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, but if it's saving, you can always cancel with escape, all right? So I'm just gonna click this as 15. And I'm gonna save this as 3 files. So AutoBack 1, AutoBack 2, AutoBack 3, and that's gonna overriding the 1, 2, and 3, and so on, right? So let's keep it at every 15 minutes is gonna save one auto backup file, right? And an auto backup file, you can find it in, you're gonna go to C, users, your computer name, documents, your Max version, and there's going to be a folder autoback. So the autoback is going to be piling here. As you can see here, I already have one auto backup 1, there's going to be auto backup 2, and auto backup 3, and there's going to override itself, right? You can have as many if you want. You can have 10 if you want to, right? So that's about it about files. Now viewports, everything here is default. I didn't change anything. One thing forgot to say, I never use these outlines because if you're moving some objects and you're trying to match a little bit closer in the viewport, those things can get a little bit annoying and they're a little bit unprecise. But if you like to experiment with the outlines, please be my guest. I think by default it will have some of these selected, but for now keep those off, all right, because it's just gonna get an easier view for you in 3ds Max viewport, right? So uncheck these guys. Your driver, it should detect automatically, so don't worry about that, right? Interaction mode, nothing. Gamma LUT, this is by default, should be 2.2 checkbox, right? So we're gonna be working all the time in Gamma 2.2, right? Majority of the people of the CGI artists are working in 2.2. There are some people who are working in Gamma 1, they have their own pipeline, etc., but let's just not overcomplicate that for now. Let's keep it at 2.2 and that's it. Rendering, you don't really need to change anything there, gizmos, unless you know what you're doing or you need to. Please be my guest, but that is it basically. So 200 undos, files, 3 files every 15 minutes, that's more than enough. Viewports, uncheck those. Interaction mode, you don't need to change anything there. Gamma, everything is the same. Press OK, right? So we're working in centimeters, right? And I'm gonna be always working and showing these tutorials in centimeters, all right? Display centimeters, system centimeters, all right? So the next thing you can try to do is go to standard. So you press on standard and viewport global, per view presets. Now, I wouldn't recommend changing that. You don't really need to do that, but sometimes I change in between 1 default light and 2 default lights. It depends how the shading is working in the scene, because sometimes you get these, you know, shading effects on the walls that you don't want to, because sometimes you do screen grab animations, and you kind of, you know, you have the ceiling and everything, and it kind of shades one wall. It becomes like a black wall, right, in the screen grab animation. So you kind of want to sometimes switch between, sorry, not this one, I'm gonna go to that one, preview presets. Sometimes you want to change this to 2 default lights. So basically the back of the wall or the wall that is in shaded mode is gonna be lit in a way. So, you know, play around with 1 default light or 2 default lights, it depends, right? So the next thing you want to try to experiment with is, so improve quality progressively. That's obviously is going to be on. So the next thing you want to do is, if you have a very slow or old graphics card, which I hope you don't have that, I hope you have a decent good card, graphics card. So I would recommend using this in the beginning. 1024 is more than enough. Okay, so to 1024. You can drop this to 512. That's more than enough actually to, you know, preview everything. But if you have a massive scene with a lot of textures and the textures are visible in the scene, it can get laggy. Okay, so my recommendation, if the project is medium scale, obviously I cannot define what is a medium scale project, but in the long run you're gonna learn that, right? So keep it at 1K, that's more than enough. Okay, you just press OK, apply, and OK, and that's basically it, right, for this rough setup. Obviously later on you can add layers. So if you press on that tab there, you can add quads, etc. For example, I'm using the prune scene cleaner, etc., but we're gonna talk about that later. Okay, so for this video I'm gonna keep it very short. I just literally showed you how to set up max, and later on I'm gonna show you, if I'm gonna be, you know, when I'm gonna be recording videos later on, I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up shortcuts, modifiers, etc., and some of the plugins. All right, but for now this is pretty much it. Okay, you don't really need to worry about all the, you know, plugins that I have. I don't have a lot of plugins. I have a very few plugins. I have a copy paste script that I'm going to be showing you how to download it later on. I have the prune script, which is a cleaner, which is cleans from viruses and you know, track knows, garbage memory, whatever, right? Empty layers, etc., because max files can get corrupted, they can get very heavy, and long times to save, long times to open, etc. So this prune scene cleaner is really good, and it's really cheap. So I think let's end this tutorial here, and in the next video probably gonna be showing you I don't know, maybe how to clean a CAD plan and create some walls, right? So very basic stuff in the beginning. All right, so yeah, So see you in my next video, and let's keep rolling.